Hello and welcome to my channel. My name is Felicia and I'm glad that you're here. Today I'm going to talk about my first 7 days in Romania. So about a year and a half ago I retired and I decided to take a big retirement trip to the Balkans. So I wanted to start off in Romania, and so people say, why would you want to go to Romania? And I wanted to go because it's beautiful, the people are nice, or so I had heard, and that turned out to be true. And it's less expensive than Western Europe. So I started out in Romania and I did a 12-day tour through Gate 1. It was about $2,600 all in, all my food, all the sites, everything except for my flight there, which I thought was pretty reasonable. Then I decided to do 4 more weeks in the countries that surrounded Romania. So this is about the beginning of my trip and it is about the first 7 days. So I decided to go to Romania a couple of days ahead so I could get over the jet lag and get ready for my trip. So my first day, well, my arrival day, I got there at 7 o'clock at night into Bucharest, which is the capital of Romania. And I took a cab to my hotel. It was about $25. I had arranged that ahead of time through booking.com, which is a really easy process. And I was glad because it had been a really long day. So I was glad to have that taxi there waiting for me so I would have a ride. So the hotel that I stayed in is called the Bucur Hotel, B-U-C-U-R. I'll make sure that I put all this information in the description box below so you'll have that information. It was only $60 a night and it was only 10 minutes from the city center. So it was really a neat hotel, kind of comparable to Hampton Inn, I would say. Their breakfast was really good and was included with my rate. And for that night, since I'd gotten in so late, I just went to a little convenience mart, grabbed some sandwiches and water, and went back to my hotel. And called it a day. First day, it was a long day. So my next day was my first full day in Romania, in Bucharest. And I walked around the city center for a little while. Then I decided to go to the National History Museum. It was only $2.50 to go in this place. And the exterior of the building was really cool, but the interior had lots of cool things. They had lots of medieval treasures, prehistoric artifacts, and it was really a neat place. I spent several hours there. I would definitely recommend that you go to the National History Museum if you're ever in Bucharest. So then I decided to go to a sidewalk cafe and have some coffee and water. It was extremely hot. It was at the very beginning of June, really hot, temperature comparable to Tennessee for sure, which is where I'm from. But I had coffee in the water. It was $4, which I didn't think was unusual. It was bottled water. Thought that was a good price. Then I went down and walked some more, and I found the famous umbrella street there with all the different colored umbrellas. I'll put a picture in for you so you can see that. You've probably seen some similar to that in other European towns. And then I stopped into a restaurant there that was right on Umbrella Street for their papaniche, which are their famous cheese donuts with cherry jam. And oh my goodness, they were fantastic. So I sat down and had that, and that was lunch. So it was really, really good. Then I did more people watching that afternoon and just kind of walked around, familiarized myself with the town of Bucharest, which is really lots of cool architecture and things to look at in Bucharest. Then I had a Greek salad for dinner and went back to my hotel. So on day 2, I decided to walk to the Palace of Parliament. It cost me about $13 to get in this place, and it was definitely looked like a palace. Very lavishly decorated inside with marble and crystal chandeliers and gold leaf. So it was really fancy inside. And I took a tour of that, and that was really interesting. Then I walked back to the center of town, and I forgot to tell you, when I was walking to the Palace of Parliament, it was only like 30 minutes away from my hotel. But it took me almost an hour to get there because I did the walking directions. Got lost a couple of times. Stop and ask people for directions. Of course, I got to see more of the city, right? So Bucharest is a lot like a city, not really comparable what I would think of when I thought in my mind what Romania was going to look at, but it's a city, so it's like any other city. But the rest of Bucharest sure was a lot like the towns that I would think you would think of in olden days, how they looked. So it was really cool. But anyway, I enjoyed that. So after the Palace of Parliament, I decided to go walk back to the center and see this really pretty bookstore, famous bookstore. Everybody goes there. Lots of Instagram shots there. Really beautiful. It's called the Carteristia Carousel, if I'm not mispronouncing that. Has the spiral staircases in there with the columns. They have like a little bistro on the upper floor. Really cool place. So that day I decided to stop for lunch, and I had a coffee and a pastry. I want to make sure that I get to try all the pastries, of course. That's part of the fun of traveling, is trying all the different foods. So I went there and had coffee and pastry for lunch, and it was really good. Then walked around some more, and for dinner, I went to a French cafe for cheese quiche and tomatoes with a salad and lemon pie. So definitely a fun day, although I've still got a little bit of jet lag. So I went back to my hotel after dinner and waited for the next day, day 3. So on day 3, I changed hotels for my tour. So I went to the hotel that the tour included on my tour. And it was the Hilton Garden Inn in Old Town. Beautiful hotel, really nice staff, a beautiful room, really, really a nice place to stay. We walked around that afternoon, and then I met the 17 people that were on my tour at an orientation meeting that evening. So of our 17 people, well, 18 include me, of people on that tour, 6 people were solos. So that was really nice because it gave me several different solos to hang out with and eat dinner with and, take my picture kind of thing. So it was really nice. So I lucked out in having a lot of solos on that tour. The next day was the first full day of my tour with Gate 1, and we did a city tour that morning just by bus and stopping different places and talking about the town, which was really interesting. And then we went back to the Palace of Parliament. I thought, oh my. I thought in the description when I read about it, I thought it said we were going to see the Palace of Parliament, not visit the Palace of Parliament. So I thought by that we would just see the outside of it and maybe stop for some pictures. And so I really wanted to visit it. So I visited a couple of days before that, as you know. But I was really glad that I got to see it again because we went in a different entrance. It was entrance for groups. We saw some different rooms that I had not seen before. So it ended up being getting a really good tour, even though it was my second time in 2 days being there. Then that afternoon, I did an optional tour to see the home of the longtime dictator Nikolai, and I'm not going to even try to pronounce his last name. It starts with a C. I'll put it in the description box below. But it was really interesting to see his home and to hear about the Romanians bid for their freedom and how they achieved that and that kind of thing. So it was really interesting. And that night for dinner, I did pizza from Uber Eats. Uber Eats works fine in Romania. So I had a pizza delivery, a wonderful pizza, and crepes with forest berries, and it was wonderful. So I definitely am enjoying all the food here in Romania. So the next day was day 5, and we left Bucharest heading to Sibiu, Sibiu. We stopped on the way at Cozia Monastery from 1388. It's an active monastery with 400 monks that are still there. We weren't allowed to take pictures inside, but I got several outside of the exterior as well as some of the monks, so that was really interesting stop. Then we went on into Sibiu, and we got to see the eyes of Sibiu. So the eyes, I put some pictures in there, really interesting. So on the rooftops of a lot of their buildings there, they have these windows at the top that look like eyes from the exterior. So it's really neat to see, and I did put a picture in there so you could see that. So definitely want to see the eyes of Sibiu. Then for lunch, I wanted to try another food there called minci, if I'm not mispronouncing it. It's minced meat sausages with mustard, and of course I had to have a beer with it, and it was actually really, really good. So if you get a chance to eat the minci, then you should do that. Then went in, saw some more of Sibiu, saw the town square, the Holy Trinity Cathedral with the beautiful painted interior. All the scenes inside were so pretty. And then we had dinner at an old local restaurant with this amazing vegetable soup and homemade bread, and papanish I had again, which was the cheese donuts with the berries on the top and cream, and the ones that I'd had previously were like donut holes. They were small, whereas this one was huge. It was really, really good though, so I enjoyed that for sure. And we stayed 2 nights at the hotel in Sibiu. It was called the Ramada Sibiu. I would definitely recommend it there. It was like a Hampton Inn, really nice, clean, food was good, etc. So on day 6, we started out a full day in Sibiu at the Astra Open Air Museum. They have over 400 buildings there that show the way of life of the Romanians through the years. So they had all these different buildings with live animals, and you walk through the paths to see all the different buildings, and that was really neat. So I enjoyed seeing that. And then after that, we went to the Alba Carolina Citadel from 1715. It's a star-shaped fortress, and that was interesting to see. And then we saw St. Michael's Cathedral from the 11th century, which is the oldest and longest cathedral in Romania, which was really beautiful. Then we saw the Unification Bell, which is kind of like our Liberty Bell with a crack in it, also just like ours, which was neat to see. And we saw some gates of the fortress from the 1200s, which were really neat and had impressive massive carvings and statues on there. So I'll put some pictures of that so you can see that. So lunch there was inside one of the buildings. It was beautiful old building, and the interior was beautiful. So I'll put some pictures so you can see it. But I had a fresca salad with an orange lemonade, and lemonade I typically love, but this lemonade was not very sweet. I guess they don't put as much sugar in it as we do in the South. It was still really good, and I enjoyed it, and the salad was really fresh and good. Then on our drive that afternoon, we saw all these storks' nests everywhere. So these huge storks' nests are like the size of tires, car tires. They're huge, and they sit on top of the building. So I've got some pictures of that. Evidently, the storks that time of year, which is around the beginning of June, had all their babies in the nest. So you'd see the mama storks and the baby storks also. So that was really interesting to see because I had never seen that before. So that was cool. And we were told that these storks build their nest and they come back to the same nest year after year. So that's really interesting. So we drove on to dinner, and we were having dinner at a local farmhouse. And they met us at where we parked the bus on these wagons. They were horse-drawn wagons, and we rode into the farmhouse there. When we arrived there, they met us on the outside with all these trays of these drinks on there, and it was the rakia, which is a local drink that's a homemade drink that they made. And it reminds me a lot of moonshine, burns all the way down. But I definitely tried it, and it was good. And the food there was good also. We had cheese and vegetable appetizers that were really good. We had homemade soup, cabbage rolls, polenta, sauerkraut, and then a cake that was not really sweet. It reminded me like of banana bread, but it was a cake with fruit. It was really good. So we definitely enjoyed that. The next day is day 7. And on day 7, we were driving to the town of Signa. And I probably mispronounced that also, so I'll definitely put that in the description box below. This is where Vlad the Impaler was born. And it's where we got our legend of Dracula. Vlad the Impaler was called that because in battle he would impale his victims on a pike. So very bloody Vlad the Impaler. But he was born, and his home was from called the Dragoon, Order of the Dragoon. And Dragoon, Dracula, get it? So I thought that was interesting. The Dragoon were Christian knights in the Middle Ages, and I did see a monument of Vlad the Impaler, and I'll put that picture in there so you could see it. It was a really neat town, Signa, and I enjoyed seeing that. We walked around, saw different things, including the Burton Fortified Church, 1524, with their priest door. So they had this big door, and on the other side of the door, it had a lock on it. So the townspeople, when they were under siege, the priests and the townspeople could hide behind that locked door. So that was interesting to see, and the inside of the church was really neat to see also. So we enjoyed that. It was kind of up on a hill, the church was, so when you went outside you saw the beautiful town of Signa. So I'll have some neat pictures of that also. So for lunch that day, we had beef goulash with dumplings, more homemade bread, and apple pie for dessert. That afternoon, we went for a rakia tasting, and it was the courtyard, the outside of this was so neat. It was beautiful flowers in bloom. And then we went inside the cellar. They had 4 or 5 different rakia flavors that we could try, and 2 of them I actually liked. They were some type of berries, and I enjoyed that. So that was really cool. So then we drove on to the town of Targu, Targu, Mures, where we stayed at the modern hotel Prevo for one night. The hotel was really beautiful. It was like a Hyatt or a Hilton, really, really modern looking. That night we had dinner at the hotel, which was cod with like a lemon lime sauce and a banana mousse for dessert. So I sure have enjoyed the food in Romania. So I hope you enjoyed hearing about my first 7 days in Romania, and I hope you'll come back and see the next video with my last 5 days in Romania before I move on to the next country. So if you have any questions about Romania, go ahead and put it in the comment box below. I'll be glad to answer that. And I hope you'll like and subscribe and come back for more travel content. See you soon. Bye-bye.